Greetings everybody, it's Lily. So this week I read about the suicide of a special little boy in Colorado called Jamel Myles that I never met, and many of the people around the US and perhaps other places who may have read about him recently from the articles about his suicide in the Washington Post and other newspapers. Very likely never met him, but his mother, Leia Pierce, says she believes she took his life due to bullying based on his having come out as gay. This little boy was 9 years old. And Mrs. Pierce says that when he came out to her, he was shaking. To her credit, her response, according to her own testimony, was, "I still love you." When somebody deals with any type of bullying, particularly when it becomes a long-term event, if you will, it can with time chip away at so much more than the person's self-esteem. And I had to respond to this tragedy because it sounds like young Jamel was already a child of more insight than many fourth graders are into himself and in themselves. That wasn't the best wording. I apologize. It also sounds as if he had a fairly decent sense of some of the likely responses he might receive. From some people, if he was shaking when he came out. Being different in any way, big, small, or medium, can in some cases be very rewarding, and sometimes one of the scariest things in certain areas that someone's will ever have to deal with. I'm making this video impromptu. I've wanted to make one in response to this tragedy since I first read about Jamel's suicide. But I wanted to internally prepare my inner self my inner energy, if you will, so that I could bring one of the more peaceful responses I could to this event. The remainder of this particular video response will be addressed to Miss Pierce herself. The speaker making this video is himself, H-E-M self, emotionally bigendered, and bisexual and biromantic. I'm fortunate to live somewhere where, amongst the adult community at least, being GLBTQ in my city's broader society is not too much of a big deal unless it's a big deal in the awesome good for you sense. Because where I live, the prevailing culture after someone has survived the turbulence of pre-college school is, on the whole, acceptance for the weird, the different, and those who don't fit the norms that have prevailed in the Western social and intellectual world for centuries. When I started to come out as bi-gendered, some people who had known me at different points went, "Oh, doesn't surprise me," with a shrug and a smile. And I really wish that it could be that way at minimum for more people. But when I was in 5th grade, at a point when I was quite frankly not only pre-sexual, but also largely pre-emotional and pre-social for neurological reasons. I and my best friend at that time, who was about as straight as they come, as it turned out, were accused of doing it behind the bushes, which could not have been more ridiculous in the circumstances. I don't know what the wording was that young Jamel heard at school when he came out to his classmates with his known to him identity. But it is hurtful to me that in 2018, years more than 20 years from the day when my friend and I were accused that similar social pettiness still prevails amongst 4th and 5th graders. And similar. Ms. Pierce, the rest of this video is addressed to you. I can't find adequate words to share with you my sympathy, or how much I hold you in high regard for your warm and compassionate response to your son when he came out to you. Because a lot of GLBTQ kids don't have that. As a first response from their parents or from someone significant in either their circle of relations or social circle. That your response was that accepting and big-hearted is to your credit amply. I myself had one parent whose response was much less accepting. In fact, his response was to communicate in no uncertain terms that he thought I was crazy. Great. My daughter's crazy. When I came out to him as bigendered and identifying as both female and male. And about the same when I came out as bisexual. One of my other relatives was much more nonchalant about it. She said, "Oh, so have you done anything about it?" Basically asking whether I had actually experimented, as it were. Physically. With a placid shrug of the shoulders and nonplussed curiosity. But there are too many kids on the GLBTQ spectrum who would have been bullied, not just at school for what they were, but at home for what they were. As much as I hurt to read that your son took his life, very likely feeling like he couldn't bear it at school, what he was dealing with at school anymore. It heartens me that your response as a parent was as tolerant, as accepting, and as open-hearted. I haven't met you. I don't know what your background is. But after having read about your response and the words you used to try to be a healing shelter for your son, when he came out to you, I want to tell you, as someone who's GLBTQ spectrum himself, that sounds to me like in social tolerance from social tolerance in a parental figure, that Jamel was a very lucky kid. And when he got home, I don't know whether a hug from a relative, from a total stranger to you, would be of much comfort to you or not. But if you would like one, as much of this hug, as much of the caring in it, the warmth in it, and the sympathy in it, as you are willing to embrace for yourself, for what you've been dealing with since your son took his life, is yours. Peace be with you, ma'am. within their own free will.